or my dress won't allow me to breathe.
It's the same. It's the same.
The second runner-up is...
The second runner-up is...
Miss Grant. Let's say it together. Miss Grant, Philippines!
Live all the way from Sydney, Australia. Please say hello to BINIBINI Pilipinas Grand International 2017 and Miss Grand International 2017 second runner-up, Elizabeth Durado Clenci. Clenci, finally in the house. Hi. Hi, Liz. How are you?
Good, thank you. It's so nice to see you.
Yes, it's been what, 4 years since the last time I saw you. Yeah, I think the last time I saw you was like on the eve of the Binibining Pilipinas coronation night, where you and Rachel treated some of us pageant admins to some dinner to a dinner in KF camp. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that. That's so funny. Wow, was that really
Yeah.
4 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years ago. Sorry, 3 years ago. 3 years. 3 years ago. Yeah, 2018. Yeah. So, Liz, how have you been? It's been a long time since the last time I have spoken to you, and everything. You know what? Everything has changed in the last few months. So, how have you been?
I've been good. I've been good considering like the circumstances with everything. It's been definitely an interesting year for everyone, but I've been good. How have you been?
So, for those who are no longer in the loop about Classic Clancy's life right now, she's now based in Sydney, Australia, pursuing her music career after her reign after her Binibini Pilipinas reign. So are you a musician now? Are you an aspiring musician?
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah. Sorry, keep
yeah,
going.
are you pursuing a music career there in Australia?
Yeah. So as soon as I came back to Sydney after leaving the Philippines, I went straight and finished my recital, which I put on hold for Binibining. I put that on hold and
Oh.
finished my recital, which was awesome. It was like, I'm really glad that I did that. And then straight after that, I went on tour, and I was on tour for most of 2019. And yeah, it's been awesome. And then I graduated.
Even when you were still competing in Binibining Pilipinas, I can really feel your passion for music. Because I remember when I watched the talent competition, you were already playing that electric guitar for the
Yeah.
talent competition. And it was like, whoa, who's the? I mean, wow, look at her. She's playing something different, considering that most of your contemporaries were doing, jazz, dance, song numbers. You were like a rocker chick doing her own thing on stage.
Yes, I remember people saying that. They were like, this is the first time anyone has ever played bass for the talent portion. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yes. So, who are the musicians inspiring or influencing you to take up this career?
In terms of bass playing, like as a bass,
Yes.
would be like Pina Palladino, James Jamerson, which are the classics. But there's this bass player from the band. I don't know if you know the band Alabama Shakes. He's the
Not.
bass player in that band. His name is Zach Cockrell, and his feel is amazing. Like the way he plays, the way he feels, and he just like sits back and it sits so tight in the pocket. So like I love his playing, but I'm influenced by so many bass players, and I'm very open, and like I'm always wanting to know and learn about other bass players and what they bring to the table. And there's some local Sydney musicians too that I look up to.
Mm-hmm.
Simesy, yeah, there's quite a few. In terms of
All right.
writing and just like holistic kind of musicianship. I love Billie Eilish's writing. I've kind of been listening to her a lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of old soul stuff, jazz, like it really just depends on what aspect we're looking at it. If we're looking at like the writing aspect or the bass playing aspect, but yeah, it's kind of layered.
So shall we expect an album coming from you in the works in the near future?
Look, I have spent a lot of time writing lately. In the last year, I definitely have been writing a bit, so we'll see.
Oh my God, singer-songwriter Liz Clenci. Wait, by the way, before we proceed, can we give a shout out to Sir Rogiel who's watching us? He says in the chat, in the he says in the comment section there. Hi Adam, I super miss you, Liz. Can you see the
Oh,
comments?
dude.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday, by the way. It was not long ago.
Oh yes, belated happy birthday, Sir Rogiel. Hope God will bless you longer life
Yes, miss you.
to train more queens for to win
Truly,
international titles. Thank you
honestly,
for tuning in.
thank you. I owe a lot of like everything to KF and Peter Rogel. Like they believed in me so much and they supported me through everything. So I'm forever grateful for Peter Rog and the KF family. They were really like a backbone of support throughout the entirety of my pageant and the reign. My pageant
Yes.
career.
Yes, speaking of Sir Rogel, because you know when you were competing for the second time, um, I kind of feel like you were packaged a little bit differently, considering you were acting a little bit raw, unfiltered, especially when it comes to your music. So I was wondering now, as I talk to you, do you miss being glammed up like a beauty queen? Like it's like a total 180-degree turn, and
it
you
really
always
It really is. I do. I
yes.
miss it. I really do miss it a lot. There's like parts of it that I like. I love to kind of just live my life, relax, and not have to worry about getting glammed up every day. But there are moments where I'm like, oh, it would be really nice to have an event to go to, or and something to kind of or an excuse rather to glam yourself up. And I do miss that whole process, and just the glam team and the family. I do. I miss it so much.
You know, I really have to credit Sir Rojo because as I said, he had packaged you to be a bit and we were looking at you as someone who's very raw and unfiltered, but yet when you walk on that stage, especially when you were training and competing for Miss Grand International, we can already see that, whoa, she looks polished. She looks well put together. It's like, is this the rocker chick the rocker musician that we used to see in Binibining Pilipinas before? So like, wow, great job. Like, it's like you really pulled it off. That's what I was about to say.
Thank you.
Yes, before we proceed, can we also give a shout out to Francesca Taruk? She is one of the 38 Binibining Pilipinas candidates competing for
Oh,
this year.
hi,
Yes.
Chris.
Hi, Francesca. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for watching.
Oh,
Yes.
Binibining days. I remember
Yes,
those.
and Joey Albos is also watching. Thank you, Joey. Thank you for tuning in. So yeah, so let's now go to your Binibining Pilipinas journey. You joined Binibining Pilipinas twice. First was when in
Yeah.
2011, and the second was when in 2017 when you were crowned Binibining Pilipinas Grand International. We saw your. Was it really a plan to join again?
No, it actually wasn't. It wasn't a plan at all. I remember after joining the first time, I mean, it had always been a dream of mine, but when I joined the first time, I didn't feel like I cut it and it was really my calling. And so I kind of just went on with my life. And then it wasn't really anywhere in my mind at all until 2000 2017 when it was
Mm.
the beginning of the year and then Miss Universe. Actually, the year before as well, because I watched Binibining for the first time in 2016. I watched it and I was like, for the first time since I joined, and I was like,
Yes,
oh
yes.
wow, I remember that. And then again, when Pia won Miss Universe, I was like, what? This is amazing. And then so when it was her time to pass on the crown, I actually watched that Miss Universe coronation night. and I was like, I had the bug again. You know, you kind of have that feeling where you want to join, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to do this. So I hadn't planned, I hadn't gone away and thought about, preparing for my comeback or anything. It really was, you know, it like the desire to join came back again, but very soon before I joined, actually. So it was out of my mind for quite a few years.
And it paid off. As a candidate in the most prestigious pageant of our country, you guys were always under intense scrutiny. And as someone who had battled eczema before, that was really challenging. So you had so much confidence that you really showed on stage. So how was it like? How was it like competing in Binibining Pilipinas, considering that you went through an ordeal, a sickness ordeal beforehand?
That's so interesting. I mean, it wasn't really, again, it wasn't something that was always on my mind when I was competing, because when I went through that process, that like as you said, it was such an ordeal, and so I really went through a lot to heal myself and recover. And so by the time Binibining came around, I think I'd already been healed or recovered for about a year and a half before I had joined. So it wasn't really something that I was worried about, because like the way I live my life every day and the way I have been since I got better and since I even got sick and changed my lifestyle is kind of pertaining to making sure that I'm in line with that kind of lifestyle. And so I just made sure that what I was eating was, healthy and the right foods that kind of supported my immune system. And so I didn't really worry about like it coming back, or I didn't feel any pressure. I was really just kind of focusing on me throughout the competition, and so everything else on the outside was everything that I could do to assist that. So I made sure that, and Tito Ita helped a lot with that too. Like
Yes.
my bar on, and I always had so much fruit, which is what my diet mostly consists of. So yeah, it wasn't really something that I was worried about per se during the pageant. It was more so just making sure I did everything I could to maintain that lifestyle throughout the stress of the pageant, because Binibining, honestly, I can say is more difficult than any. Well, not any, because I haven't experienced any, but it was more difficult than an international pageant for sure. Like there was a lot of pressure, and so maintaining a healthy lifestyle through that was more of the focus.
Speaking of pressure, let's admit it, there were a lot of beautiful girls competing during your batch. And I think one of the things that made you stood out was your oratory or communication skills. So was there a pressure for you to perform better during the Q&A round during that time, considering that, it's one of your strengths?
Well, I wouldn't say that there was much pressure for me. I trained a lot for Q&A, but I didn't train in the way where I had answers prepared or anything. I just trained in terms of like making sure I was on top of current events and like knew myself well enough to know how I would answer any question if any question was thrown at me. But I hadn't experienced Q&A because back in 2011, sorry, I didn't even make it to the top 15. So I didn't know what that experience would be like. Like my sister, she had that experience. She got into
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Q&A, but I had no idea what to expect. So I kind of wasn't thinking about it at all. Like I didn't think about the pressure at all until we stood there and we were waiting to get like called up for the question.
Yes, yes.
That's when it hit me. I was like, okay, here we go.
Were,
Before, but it's okay. We can do this.
and you did it so well. I still remember that question. It was one of those simple yet tricky questions that was asked of a Binibining Pilipinas candidate. I think it was Sir Ted Filon who asked that question to you, like, what will you do if you're stuck in traffic for hours? I think the traffic issue was the main point of the question, but what did I get the question right? What could you do if you were stuck in a 3-hour traffic in EDSA? Was that the question?
Yes, if you are stuck in heavily frustrating traffic, what would you do to make use of your time?
Which you completely answered with sense, right?
Thank you. You know what's so funny though? Fun fact is that like because I think it made sense to everyone in the Philippines, because in the Philippines we commute, and so we're rarely driving. We're either
Yes.
in a Grab or an Uber or commuting on a bus or a train. And in the Philippines, in Australia, it's more common to drive. And so everyone in Australia was like, she was reading or sleeping while she was driving. And so my sisters were like, oh no. Like when I answered that, everyone in the Philippines was like, yes. And my sisters were like, oh no.
But then when you went back to your position on stage, what were you feeling like then? Like, okay, did I ace my question, or were you doubting yourself at
Um,
that time?
I wouldn't say that I felt like I aced it. I definitely was like, what did I just say? The giggle, because I was like, well, speaking of oratory skills, I was like, it's so funny that because I stumbled a little bit at the end over my words. I was kind of just like, really? Like I stumbled over. Yeah, other than that, I was just like, oh well, I kind of just left it up because I did as much as I could at that point. So there was no point in really beating myself up about anything. I was just like, oh well, I made it this far.
Yeah, but you know what? Apart from your Q&A, I'm also impressed by what you wore during the evening gown segment of the competition. You wore a white column gown during the finals night without any beading or crystals or anything borloloy to make papansin on stage. And my jaw and all of us pageant fans, our jaws really dropped. I think that time you were the true definition of simplicity is the highest form of sophistication. So, whose idea was it for you to wear a simple, crisp white gown?
Well,
And
going from the beginning, going into the pageant before we were even sketching gowns or anything, I knew that's what I wanted. I knew that I wanted something clean and crisp. Like I didn't want the typical pageant gown. I didn't want sparkles. I didn't want beads. I just wanted it to be kind of very reflective of just like my style. Because as much as I love the glam and I love that about pageantry, uh, I don't love the over beaded dresses. Like that I do for each kind of category or the different things. But for me, truly, especially for Binibining, like that's where I resonated, was just something plain and simple yet super elegant. And so that's what I wanted from the beginning. And I worked very closely with my stylist at the time to try and achieve that. And that Venus cut gown that Jazz made was perfection. It was anything I could have. It kind of far exceeded my expectation of what I wanted, and it was really beautiful gown, and I love it so much.
yeah, the risk paid off. I mean, it was a gutsy move that paid off.
Yes, because I'd only ever seen beaded gowns, and that's kind of what everyone pushes for, and so it was a bit of a challenge, like kind of challenging everyone who's used to beaded gowns, and
Yes.
they're like, you have to look this way, and I was like, no, this is really what I'm putting my foot down for is this, because you want to kind of, your gown is an extension of you, so you want it to be part of you, the way you move, the way you kind of express yourself, and so that's what I definitely wanted for my look.
So when your name was finally called as the winner of the Binibining Pilipinas Grand International title during that time, what was going through your head? Does it feel surreal as it did
Oh my
back
gosh, this
then?
still like sometimes I'm like, wow, did that really happen? I was just kind of total bliss, euphoria. Like it felt like a dream. Like when I was thinking back in hindsight, I was like, man, that night felt like a dream. It really just it kind of, how everything's kind of hazy in a dream and you're not sure what's going on. Like as soon as I was called, and then the rest of that night, like it just all felt like a dream. And it still feels like a dream sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, wow, I really did that.
Yeah. But when you won, of course, were you shocked to get that title, or is it something that you kind of expected? Because as we all know, there are so many titles at stake when you compete for Binibining Pilipinas. So, if a girl during that, how is the mindset of a girl competing in Binibining Pilipinas? I mean, do you have that mindset? Okay, I'm gonna aim for my target crown, or is it like, okay, I'll get what I can take?
I think it depends on the person. I think it would be safe to say that when you join, I mean, at least for me and for most other girls, they really had their eye on the universe crown.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't say that that's the only thing I was going for, and I didn't close my kind of horizons, and I didn't have blinders onto I'm only going for the universe crown and nothing else like matters. I was just there to compete, and that was my dream, and that's what I wanted. But I was also grateful and open to any crown and to be able to represent the Philippines on the international stage. So for me personally, I didn't have any expectations at all for any kind of crown. I knew what I wanted, but I was also open to just being myself and grateful for whatever was on my path and what was destined for me, which was the grand
Yes.
crown. And I
So
was so
speaking of grand, since you got that crown already, how did you prepare? How did you research for your competition?
um, there was a lot. I'm just the typical
Yeah.
walk, um, Q&A training, but I knew for Miss Grand, like obviously the slogan and the advocacy is stop the war, and that's what it's all about. So it's all about peace, and um, the difference with Miss Grand is the speech, and so that's what
Yes.
I had to prepare for. I was like, okay, like the topic, what am I going to say? How long is it going to be? And so that I prepared in that way. I kind of was focusing a lot on Q&A in the sense that because the
Yes.
question that they asked um, the batch the year before me was so controversial. So
Yes. Yes. Nicole's batch.
yes,
Yes.
the whole batch, and so I was like, okay, I have to be prepared for anything because they really went out there and asked this question, which was, I mean, I would have never expected that from a pageant, especially in America when they were holding it in America at the time. But yeah, so I was like, I really have to be prepared for anything. So I made sure I was on top of all current events. I honed in on what I knew I wanted to speak about in my speech, and in regards to stop the war and peace, like in in the kind of time and age of when we were talking about it. And yeah, that was the main focus in terms of preparing for the pageant and what they're all about. But then I also was working on my performance aspect of things, so my walk and hair and
Just
makeup. Hair and makeup was big for me because I did not know how to do my own hair and makeup. Joining Binibining.
yes. Yes. Because 3 years after, I mean, 4 years after you competed, it felt like how I'm assessing your preparation for Miss Grand International back then felt like how you were competing as if you were competing in Miss Universe. I think the level of preparation in terms of wardrobe styling, yeah, that's how I'm seeing it right now. It's really dawning on me. So uh, especially when you came out, when you came out in the tweeted gray suit, when you during your arrival in Vietnam, that was really, really good styling.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh.
Yes, and I remember people telling me, it was really classy and unexpected. I think that's where we got the hashtag classy feels at classy cleansy hashtag we trended on social media because you were always serving us cleanliness, freshness, and unexpected styling during your international competition, in terms of selecting your wardrobe. So, what was your favorite outfit back then? And what could you share any stories behind your favorite outfits back then?
Oh gosh, I don't think I could pick a favorite because for my wardrobe, again,
Yeah.
I was very hands on. Like I wanted, like I cross checked every piece, like everything that I wore was something that I wanted to wear. And so I
Mhm.
worked very closely with many designers, local designers that helped bring my vision to life because I knew I wanted to kind of extend similar look to the final coronation night, that kind of crisp, clean, minimalist look, because that was just me. And I really believe that, or I went about having the wardrobe as an extension or an expression of me. And so I worked with designers to kind of bring that to life, which was amazing. I don't know if I can pick one. Every single piece was amazing. I loved them all so much. Like I loved working with Patty Ang,
Yes.
Batista. Actually, one of his dresses, I don't think I wore it at Miss Grand, but I wore it for a photo shoot. And I had it with me at Miss Grand, but I decided to wear something else on one of the nights because a lot of the girls were wearing a similar color, but it was this beautiful, um, I love to call it Pia blue. I'm just like Pia. That's her color. That's her
Yes,
color.
yes.
Complete royal blue. It's not royal blue. It's Pia blue. Um, it's almost kind of that depth, and it was a beautiful off-shoulder satin dress. Well, it was a skirt and a top, but the way it looked was like a dress, and so that was one of my favorite pieces. But everything that I worked with Patty Ang on was incredible, and Jazz. Oh my goodness, I love Jazz as a designer so much. Like she she's the epitome of simplicity and class. It's amazing. But I don't
Yes,
know.
you know.
That tweed suit though was Patty Ang. Ooh, what else? Oh my gosh. Um,
Even the salakot that you wore in one of your OOTDs, the Vietnamese cone hat, remember that?
yeah,
And the one that stood out for me was the black top and the pink
yes.
flare
Like,
pants.
no, that
So,
was just Zara.
oh, but you
Yeah,
really
I
look
love.
expensive in those outfits, I must say.
Thank you. I also, you know what I love? The red gown that I wore. It had the
Yes,
long
yes,
sleeves.
yeah, the long sleeves. Fonzie, I hope you can show it. I sent it to you. I sent all your OOTDs to my technical director, but I don't know why
Oh,
he's
did
not
you?
showing
Which one
it
is your
on
favorite?
screen. Huh?
Which one is your favorite? Did you have a favorite?
I think yeah, the ones that I mentioned to you, the black top and the pink pants, and then the one that you wore during the welcoming ceremony, the white one, the white gown wherein you
Yes, that
sang
was yes.
impromptu towards
Yeah,
the end. It was really good.
thank you. Yeah, that was
And
basically like the same inspiration behind the Binibining coronation nightgown.
that was sleek, I must say.
Thank you.
You know, bottom line is, you really know what works for your body. So yeah, there was so much. I think Bonita Pueranda, who was styling you during
Yes.
that time.
Oh my gosh, I love Bun. We worked really well together. We really resonated with understanding the same style, and we kind of really lent towards like similar things, and we liked the same things. And so she really knew what I was going for in terms of look, and she helped me execute it perfectly. It was so great working with Bun.
So apart from your OOTDs, we were also impressed with your catwalk skills. You know, I still can't, forget those hip sways. So, during during the press presentation by the poolside. So how were you able to perfect such kind of walk?
All thanks to Mummy G from KF. We worked so hard on that walk. I mean, again, again, it was like an expression, kind of just like the walk version of bringing that kind of expression of who I am to life, but with kind of a bit of flair, like a bit of MGI flair and something different. And so we really that turn that we took
Yes.
to perfect that. So that was all Mummy G. Mummy G is the brains behind the walk from KF, and so we spent a lot of time practicing and working and thinking
Yeah,
about.
I still remember. I can that hip sway. Talagang, how do I say this in English? Pero in Tagalog, it's really baklang bakla. I mean, it's so gayish talaga. That
Yes,
ikot talaga. Talaga you really got what the essence of what MGI is looking for in a in a winner, I must say, right?
thank you.
So Yeah, so apart from that, your gowns were also amazing during the prelims and even during the catwalk. Uh, so what was the inspiration between for those two gowns for the prelims?
For the prelims, the
Yes,
the Benj Laguya
the
gown.
Ben. Yeah.
No, you know what? Actually, so that what we were talking about before. I wasn't ever into like the sparkle beaded gowns, but then I went and watched Miss Earth 2017, Miss Earth Philippines 2017, and one of the girls
Yes.
was wearing this beautiful dress, and then just the way it was sparkling on stage, I was like, oh, I really like that. I was like, that looks really nice. And so it was also a Benj gown, and I got in contact with Benj, and I was like, hey. I really love that gown. Could we maybe work on something together? And so again, I was very hands-on. I explained what I wanted. I wanted something like very beaded and sparkly, but also kind of very simplistic and elegant at the same time. So I specified the cut, and then just certain things like accentuating the waist with the way it was beaded and sewn, and you see where the gold comes in like that.
See
And
there.
yeah, I wanted it to look, and I wanted it to be back. There was so much that I kind of wanted to bring to life, and so I worked closely with Benj, and he did such an
So how
amazing.
did you so how did you select which gown for which segment of the competition? Like how did you choose that bench lagilap gown for the prelims and the green Valto Taguba gown for the finals?
Well, for the prelims, it was I think that was the clear option to just wear that gold beautiful gown. But then for the finals, I think we wanted to do something different. We wanted to stand out a bit. And so I know the dress is super controversial and everyone has mixed reviews about it. But there was a certain elegance about the bal gown that I wore on Coronation Night, the one with the neck. And
Yes, yes.
it was just very different. And so on the yeah, that gown. And then so on the final night, just knowing that in the prelims, because I think Peru and I had a very similar gown, or it looked quite similar in terms of the color and the cut. See, it's the same gown that she was wearing on the final night, and so
Oh.
yeah, and it was very. So we, I think we just wanted to do something different and something bold, which was very risky, and yeah, it was very risky to do, and everyone had very mixed reviews about it. But I think the main thing was my mum loved that Val gown. Everyone in
Mm.
Australia actually loved that gown. And they're like, oh, wear that one. Wear that one. There was so much information coming from all angles.
Yes, yes, yes. You were feeling overwhelmed by then.
Yes, I was so overwhelmed because, everyone has an idea and everyone has an input. And so I, I guess especially when it comes to that point in the pageant where it's like the pressure is on. It's like the final night and it's such a big thing and I've been working so hard. Like there was so much coming from all angles and you feel the pressure and you kind of don't even know what decisions you're making at the end. So my advice to anyone joining pageants is know what you want ahead of time and like have that set in stone and have that certain.
Because if you ask my opinion, I really really like the your prelims gown better because
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about your sleek styled hair that makes you stand out more on stage. But that's just me. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know that you liked that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if there's one common denominator between those two gowns, they're too sexy. So I was just wondering what was Madame's reaction when you had those questions sent to her for approval.
To be honest, she was so busy at the time.
Oh,
I don't think she didn't really have final say.
oh, at least she was able to give you so much freedom and liberty to choose that type of
Yes,
gown.
I was very lucky. I had so much freedom because I had heard that, like in the other years, the girls didn't have as much freedom. So I was incredibly lucky because there was. I mean, she did. She saw the national costume. She was okay with that, and she saw the sketches for the gowns, and she was okay. But it's different seeing a sketch and seeing something in real life, you know. So she was very busy. I think she might have been in the States at the time. She wasn't even in the Philippines. So
Uh-huh.
I'm very, very blessed and very lucky that I had a lot more freedom than others.
So while you were competing in Miss Grand International already, did you feel that you were already a favorite then as soon as you arrived in Vietnam?
I wouldn't say that I felt like I was a favorite, but I'm fully aware that across the board in all pageants, Philippines is quite a forefront in people's minds because we've got such good history, especially in the last 10 years. That like I didn't really consider or look at it as like, oh, I'm a favorite. Like I just know that everyone is always keeping their eye on the Philippines, and so I wasn't thinking about that either. I really just went there and just knowing that you're being watched all the time anyways for pageantry. um, I always made sure I was performing at my best every moment, and I wasn't really taking into account what favorites were or like who was the favorite. Like there was moments where you notice or think about that, but it wasn't really something that I was thinking about. I was just like, okay, I'm here to represent my country, and I'm gonna do my best at that and represent what the Philippines is all about, what the essence of a Filipino woman is all about. And so that was my main concern.
Because if you will ask me, I think you were already a favorite as soon as you arrived. Because remember when you arrived, there was already a TV crew interviewing you
Yes,
at the arrival area. And then they were already referring you as Miss Philippines even way before the sashing ceremony happened.
yes. Okay. Well, now that you say that, thinking about it in hindsight, I guess so. Yeah, because I do remember that interview. But that's what I was saying. I think that's really just something in pageantry is everyone has their eye on the Philippines, and the Philippines has always been such a strong contender in the last 10 years across all of the international pageants. Like we train so hard, and we have such a big fan base. So it's I think it's a given that's going to happen, like regardless of who you are. Like there's always so much hype leading up to the pageant because we're training hard. We have incredible fans that are always creating noise for us and always wanting to know our every move and keeping an eye on our performance. And so it's hard not to you know not to see that, especially with social media as well.
So speaking of that, now that you brought it up, did you feel kind of bothered considering that it seems like all the pageant fans' eyes are on you, trying to analyze your every move during the entire competition.
Um, I
Because
honestly, sorry.
because I remember the reason why I asked these questions. Because I remember I just chanced upon a live event of Miss Grand International on Facebook during that. I mean, I think you guys were um, visiting a zoo, and it so happened that Miss Indonesia was holding the cell phone. It's like all the fans were like, "Can you give the phone to Miss Philippines? Where's Miss Philippines?" And like, and Miss Indonesia was kind of yelling, "Oh, where's Miss Philippines? Where's Miss Philippines?" So someone's looking for her on the comment section. So what was the fans' reactions? How they were behaving on social media kind of affected you as you were going through the competition?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, we have incredible fans and they're so supportive. And I kind of try not to focus too much on what's being said online. I think that was my problem with the first year that I joined Binibining. I was like, I wonder what the fans are saying. But it's really your journey. Like they're there for the ride, and that's so great that they're enjoying it. And I love how passionate they are. But I try not to let anything kind of enter my mind too much. I just try to keep in the present moment and try and stay positive. But there was one moment where, like when it got a bit controversial, like I had to turn off my comment section on one of the photos, just because I positivity. It's important to be positive and yeah, maintain that throughout. Because there's so much going on, so you really have to be careful.
Yeah, I agree. At some point in time, you really have to shut down the noise for you to be able to concentrate on what you're doing and focus on the task ahead, right? So, how was it like competing in Miss Grand International? I mean, I'm curious. What time do you guys wake up every day? You know, was it what time? I mean, what type of activities have you been doing, and what time would you what time would you guys end every
It was
night or every day?
it was different every single day. It really would just depend on what we had going on. Sometimes it would be very early. It wasn't too unreasonable though. Miss Grand was actually quite a lovely experience. Um, I think the earliest maybe was five a.m. But on average maybe like between six to seven would be like the latest. And so to get ready, I'd wake up maybe 1 or 2 hours beforehand, and
Oh my God! So what time was it? 3 a.m. just to fix yourself.
oh my gosh, actually, that competition by the swimming pool, the swimsuit competition, we had to be there at 5 a.m. or something. So like it was so early. We had to be there at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
and
so
it wasn't
early.
building. Yeah, it wasn't in the main building because it was a day competition, and so we really had to be shuttled to this other part of the resort. And I think we were up at like 3 or 4 a.m. It was so funny. All the girls were so tired, just like with their hair in rollers and then like no makeup on. And I was like, "Good morning." But yeah, I think the earliest was maybe like 3 or 4 that for that since the competition. But other than that, nothing was too unreasonable. It was like maybe 6, 7 a.m.
But nonetheless, you had fun,
I had so much
right?
fun. It was
That's what's more.
yeah.
And and that fun also translated to your national costume. I mean, come on, you were such a modern Tivoli princess when you wore that jersey, national costume, and you really left all of us speechless. You really killed it during the segment of that competition. So now my question is to you: what made you decide to go out of the box instead of doing the usual Maria Clara vibe or inspired type of outfit?
Well, I think again, just precisely that I wanted to step out of the box and just it's been done before. It's been done every year, and I don't think that's a true representation of the Philippines. There's so much more than a Spanish influenced Maria Clara gown. Um, we have so many indigenous tribes from all islands, and so I really wanted to kind of pay homage to that. And there's just something so beautiful about the tinalak and the fabrics and coming from the Visayas Mindanao area. I wanted to kind of touch base to one of the indigenous tribes and bring that to the world stage. I wanted the world to see, the Philippines is so culturally diverse and there's so much more than just like and I love, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the Maria Clara gown. I think it's one of the most elegant pieces and I adore it and I love wearing them. But to represent our country, I wanted to do something different and showcase that, there's a lot more than just that. There's so much culture and diversity. Yeah.
Because if you will look at that video, look as we are showing it to you now, it's some sort of some level, some different kind of showmanship look. So was it like what was that thing that you were holding? Because I feel like that was kind of honoring your musicality or personality.
Yes, yes. So it's a traditional guitar from the south, and I mean, it wasn't an actual functioning one; it was just a prop. But yeah, just kind of that as well, linking that to my musicianship and just showcasing it. We've only ever showcased Turners. I don't think there's been anything different, and so yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my
I
gosh,
feel like
that's
it was one of your most defining moments during the
thank
competition. It kind of sealed your favoritism in the pageant. Like, look, sexy back. I wonder how how Madame was able to approve it. But then you said she never got to see it.
well, no,
Look, because it was really
yeah.
what 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 were you saying? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'm pretty sure I showed Madame that the gown because we
Yeah.
had a session where we had training and she saw it.
Uh huh.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It is pretty revealing. But
It's
I do.
it,
Sorry, what was that?
No, I really just find it so refreshing because, every time you make that turn, wow, that was a sexy turn. Did you also get to practice your turn in every move for that national costume
Yeah.
when you were training here in the Philippines?
Yeah, so we
Oh
worked
God.
meticulously on that entire performance. I worked with Mommy G closely. Yeah, and like everything from the shoulder movements to showcasing the guitar. It was all, we worked very hard on that performance.
It was so damn sexy. For sure, the pageant owner loved every moment of it that you performed during that time, for sure, because that I think that's what he likes, sexy, someone who showcases her sexy personality on stage. But before we proceed again, can we greet Sir Ito, who's also watching, and then Tita Elsa, your Tita Elsa from Canberra is also watching.
Oh, hi, Tita Elsa. Hi, Tita Ito. Miss you guys so much. Ah.
Yeah. So going back, hi Sir Ito, thank you for tuning in. Hi Tita Elsa as well. Hope to meet her someday. So going back to our conversation, so do you feel like was there some sort of pressure for you to win during that year, considering that your predecessors Parul and Nicole did such amazing job of in placing in the top five of the competition?
I wouldn't say pressure. Like, I got that question a lot as well throughout, and I wasn't really focusing on trying to get a certain outcome or trying to like place. I just knew that I wanted to represent like the Philippines as best as I could. And obviously my main goal was to bring home the crown for the Philippines and be the first person to do so. And so I didn't really look at it as pressure. Sorry, I'm going to just we've done this earlier. I have to plug in my the charger. But I didn't really look at it
Okay.
as pressure. I I just wanted to kind of perform my best every day. And I'm a different person. I'm a different representative. I have something different to offer, and so I wasn't really trying to compare myself to anyone at any stage. And I don't think that's anything that you should do in life and in anything. So you can't really compare yourself to another because what you have to offer is something so different. And so I was just focusing on being myself and representing the Philippines through that. And so I didn't really try to, live up to anything except for being the best I could be.
It's really interesting to hear your answer because as because when I chance upon Nicole Cordoves's recent content for her YouTube channel, she said that when she was competing, she kind of from my understanding of what she said, she had a conscious effort to level up to her predecessor Parusha's expectation, considering that she had felt that the organization, Sir Nawat, and the entire crew of Miss Grand International had so much high regard for Parul. And somehow she was able to sense that when she was competing in Las Vegas. So now that I'm hearing your answer, you weren't really mindful of any pressure at all, as you were just doing your own thing.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, in terms of like leveling up, like I definitely was like I wanted to just level up holistic, like in all senses of the word, not to level up to anyone, but just to level up and like, bring that level up in terms of not comparatively to compare myself to anyone, but just to really kind of level up overall performance on like a world stage, I guess, for everyone and to set a bar really high. But yeah, I didn't really try and compare. Like everyone would always be like, "Oh, there's a lot of pressure. Like you need to exceed first runner up, this, and that." And I was like, I can't really put pressure on myself like that because I can't put myself in a box. To define it is to put it in a box. And so obviously I had the vision to bring home the crown, but I didn't try to pressure myself to live up to anyone's expectations except for doing the best that I could and representing our country the best way that I could. And so I did that every single day, like choosing the national costume and trying to step out of the box.
Yes, yes.
different in a sense where that's just how I like to do things and how I like to live my life, kind of just like even with my recital at home, I there's certain expectations that people have of you, and I have I've envisaged something, and it's not defined by anyone or anything. It's just a goal that I have and what I want to bring to the table. If that makes sense. I don't know if I articulated that well enough.
So yes, I get what you mean. So you complete. So what you prepared for this for your competition is really totally your is totally your own thing. It's like you made it entirely your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Because I'm
but I'm saying,
different. Like what she brought to the table. Like I could never be Nicole, and Nicole could never be me, and we could never be Peru. We're all different, and like every Filipina is different. We have something different to offer, and so that's all I did. I was just trying to bring out the Filipina in me and represent that as best as I could.
but did you get to ask their advice prior to competing in Miss Grand International? And if you did, what was the most memorable advice that they told you about
Oh,
competing for
yes,
this
yeah.
pageant
I spent
system?
a lot of time. I spent time with Peru and Nicole training. They had a lot of it. Even throughout the competition, there was such like a backbone of support for me. They were kind of like older sisters, like walking and holding your hand through school for the first time. Nicole, I think they really helped. Both of them really helped me be myself, but have the confidence to do that throughout Miss Grand. So it was more so the advice that they had in terms of what it would be like to go through the pageant. And what to expect, which was super helpful because when you go into something very blind and you're not fully aware of what it's going to be like, it throws you off, and it's a bit hard to know what to prepare for. But when you have somebody that's been through it, and then they can walk you through what to prepare for, you kind of feel a sense of safety and like, okay, that I'm ready for this. And so that was a massive help in being able to go through everything.
How you were able to combine their advice and made it your training entirely your own speaks highly of the level of commitment that you really put in for this competition, especially with what I heard. Fonzie, can you I'll flash this. Special backstory about this award. You garnered two awards for the competition. One was, of course, being the second runner up, being adjudged as the second runner up. But they also gave you another trophy. Can you share us what the trophy was for?
We did. So I think it was based on the fans voting, but it was they voted for the best performer, and that was the trophy was the best performer of Miss Grant overall, which was based on the fans. And I'm not sure if it was the organization as well, but I think it was just the fan voting, and they gave that to me backstage, which was quite heartwarming and humbling to receive that, especially after so, like performing for 20 days straight, months and months of preparation. It kind of was validating to be like, this paid off. All your hard work kind of paid off because we saw you, we saw your performance, we saw how much you put into it, and so that's what that was. It was like the best performer voted by the fans, I think, from my understanding, anyways.
So you weren't disappointed that you only got second runner up?
I mean, I wouldn't be honest if I said no. I wanted to bring. I really did want to bring him the crown, but I knew that I did everything I could, and if you work as hard as you can and perform to the best of your ability and stay present and try to also be present in the moment and have fun with it as well, then there's not much more you can do. And so I think just knowing that I did that was enough, and that I wasn't able to bring home the crown, unfortunately, but I know that I did everything I could. I really wanted to bring home the crown for the Philippines. I did so.
Yes, we could feel that.
Yeah.
So I want to ask this. next question. So how was it like competing right next to Miss Peru? Because Miss Peru was the overall winner, right? In the end.
Yeah.
So how was it like competing with her, considering that your names are side by side with each other alphabetically, Peru, Philippines. So did you have an inkling she would already eventually win?
I, to be honest, I did notice kind of that there was a lot of attention and focus on her throughout the pageant. But especially in the beginning, like I said, I was just focusing on performing my best and, focusing on what I could bring to the table. I wasn't really trying to look around and see what the other girls were doing or what other girls were around me. I was just staying present in it. But as we kind of brought closer to the coronation night, I did notice it a bit. Being next to her, though, I didn't really feel, because I enjoyed her company and we had good chats, and so I was just hanging out with her, and I didn't really feel. When I compete, I don't do it in a competitive way. Like I'm gonna compete against you. It's just really like, okay, I'm bringing all of this to the table. This is me, and I've worked so hard on this, and so I'm almost competing with myself more than anyone, because it's just like I know what I want and I know what I have in mind, and so I'm gonna try and level up every time in terms of me. I can't really worry about what other girls are doing, because I feel like when you do that, you kind of lose focus on yourself and what you can bring to the table, and so you're not really focusing that energy on performing your best. And so I wasn't really looking around to anyone else up until maybe like the last few days, where it's hard to not feel that pressure and hard not to see like I guess the favorites and the front runners stick out. But in the everyday competition, it wasn't on my mind being next to her. I enjoyed her company.
I really applaud your attitude during that pageant. You didn't mind the Latina domination. I mean, you were marching to the beat of your own drum. So
Yeah, of course,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. So wait, before we proceed again, can we greet your mom, Miss Sarah Clenci? She's
Hi,
also watching. Hi.
Mom. Miss you.
So we're down to our last few questions. So hearing hearing all your wonderful experiences in Miss Grand International and having gone through that pageant, and now being a credible source or an authority, a good authority of what the pageant is all about. So what do you think the organization is really looking for in a candidate or in a winner? Who should they impress? Is there a specific mold to win this pageant system?
It's such a young pageant that it's hard to really say. And knowing that, like, obviously, I knew that they love the bombshell look. I know that for sure. But it kind of is almost different every year. I think it's just really, really about personality. Kind of, there is a bit of sex appeal that they do like there, but every year I think they see something in somebody that they like, that there's some sort of like an X factor or something that's not part of like the MGI mold. And I wouldn't say that they have a particular mold, but in terms of looks, they love the bombshell look, and I guess just bring your own personality to the table, because it changes every year. I think it changes every year from what I've seen anyways.
Based from your experience, what is your most favorite moment of the competition? Where you all get along behind the scenes with each other?
Yeah, yeah, we did. I mean, there was so many of us. I my experience, I think we all got along, but there were so many of us. I didn't get to interact with everyone, but I came out of the pageant with incredible lifelong friends. Cass, Miss Australia, like she's one of
Yes,
my dear
yes.
friends, and like today she's basically family. And so sometimes I come out of that competition feeling like I won so much more than the crown, because I've been able to meet beautiful women from around the world, and I'm still in contact with some of them, calling them family, and still seeing them, and we all got along. And I don't think it's so funny because there's so much. I mean, I'm not sure, just from what I've experienced, anyways. There's like always something here and there, and like behind the scenes. But I feel I've been very blessed to experience good things in pageants. Yes. Oh, I love that photo so much. Oh,
Oh, yes. I miss her. I mean, do you guys live in within one state, Sydney,
yes. We live
or
15
does she
minutes away.
live elsewhere, like in New South Wales? Oh, wow.
We live so close.
Wow. For sure she must be your Oh, isn't it nice that you can have lifelong friends in
Yeah.
pageants out of
Yes.
competing pageants?
Honestly, that's like one of the most beautiful things about pageantry is just like the sisterhood that you can come out of, a pageant with. It's really so beautiful. It really is. And even like the Binibining girls, like so many of them are still, lifelong friends as well. It's amazing. It really is. And so that's a really beautiful thing about pageantry as well. Is like as much as there is I don't know if it's misconception, but as much as there is talk about like cattiness behind stage and stuff, there's something really beautiful about getting to experience the world's culture in one space, like especially like women around the world, and just experiencing that. It really is such an experience that you can't really compare to anything else. So I feel very blessed.
So looking back, did you regret anything that you might have done that could have cost you the crown? Or what would you have done better to win?
Oh gosh. I don't really like looking back on things with like regret or thinking like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But I think as much as I say I did try to stay present and focused towards the end, and because there's so much noise coming from all ends, it's so important to just, you know, I think maintain believing in yourself and maintain like your own self confidence, because it's so easy to be swayed, especially under the pressure of the competition. There's nothing at the top of my head that I can think of where I was like, wow, I really wish I didn't do that. Maybe my hair for the swimsuit competition. That's the only
During
thing
the
I can.
finals?
No,
During the finals?
not the finals. The by the pool competition, because my hair just wasn't. I don't know why it just was not curling the way I wanted it to be curled, and it's kind of hard because when I did my hair and makeup training, like I didn't focus so much on curls because
Yes,
that wasn't.
yes.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't terrible, but I remember being stressed out trying to get that done. I think it's because it was so last minute. It was very early as well.
But I have
Oh
to
well.
give credit to you. We're still able to pull yourself together in that segment of the competition. Just look. I mean, that hip sway and how do you say that in English? Yung balakang mo is swaying to the east and to the west with so much wow fire.
Yeah, thank you. I can't
Yeah.
say anything in particular. That's just like a
So
novelty.
so my last question is, now that Samantha Bernardo, did you get a chance to meet her in person
Yeah, yeah, I
when
did.
you were still here?
Yeah, I did, I have met her. I know her.
Yeah, as we all know, she's now a representative for the ongoing Miss Grand International pageant. And, as someone who has competed in this pageant system before, what can you advise her at this point in time? Any tips for her?
Just stay present and focus on your goal, focus on yourself. Know that you've worked so hard for this and that you're representing the Philippines, and just make that be the kind of fire behind why you're doing things. It's bigger than just yourself. It's the Philippines, and you're showcasing who you are as a Filipina. Believe in yourself. Always believe in yourself first and foremost, and have the courage to step outside of the box as well, and don't let the outside noise cloud any judgment or cloud what you know in your heart is the right thing. And have fun. Honestly, not everyone gets to experience this, so more than anything, have fun. Good luck.
Exactly. I think she's having fun. I think considering that this is going to be her last year as
Yeah.
as an aspiring beauty queen, so she's just probably going to enjoy the whole thing. But of course, without giving a real good fight
Fun.
in winning
Yes.
our first ever Miss Grand International crown. So on
The
that
Philippines.
note, Liz, that ends my interview with you. There's no doubt that I had so much reminiscing
I know.
your time in Miss Grand International for the past hour. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So can you give us the last question? Can you give a message to all your fans and supporters who has still been trending your hashtag Classy Clancy feels on social media every time MGI would always come about every year?
Thank you guys so much for the undying support. You know that I'm forever grateful for your support from Binibining throughout my training and throughout the pageant, and even now. I thank you so much. It still warms my heart to see the posts and the messages. And I did this all for you. I really did. I just wanted to represent our country the best that I could. And I love you so much, and I'm forever grateful. And thank you for being the best fans in pageantry.
No doubt. Thank you, Liz. So, what's next for you? So, yeah, an album, yeah, an
Oh, yeah.
MTV video in Australia.
Sorry, what was the last one? I didn't catch that.
MTV video.
I don't even know if we have MTV in Australia anymore. I don't think we have. It's very like the scene is
Oh,
much more around over here. But I've been actually working on music. I've been writing music, and I've been kind of extending myself creatively. I started writing a book, which hopefully that's finishing up soon, and I'd love to share that. A cookbook that kind of like has recipes that help with like healing and skin and health. And so, yeah, I'm definitely working on a few projects, which I'm so excited to share with everyone.
why not join MasterChef Australia?
MasterChef Australia. So fun.
Yeah, since you love cooking as well, you know. Anyway, Liz, thank you so much for your time in gracing this interview. I really had so much fun, as I've said, reminiscing your Miss Grand International and Binibini Pilipinas journey. I miss you, Liz. God bless you. And
Thank
thank
you so
you
much.
for the opportunity of reconnecting with you again.
Oh my gosh, the pleasure was mine. Thank you so much.
Before I end, can I give a shout out to Sir Juanito, for making this interview possible. Thank you, Sir Juanito, for arranging this interview with
Love
this.
you.
Thank you so much, Sir Rogel. Thank you so much for tuning in. So there you go, guys. Miss Elizabeth Clenci, Miss Grand International.